Good evening. If you strip away the media narrative, the political slogans, and the ideological spin, the conflict between the United States and Iran is not a mystery. It is a result of decades of interventions, retaliations, and power politics set in motion long before today's headlines. So tonight we're going to dig into just some basic facts. I'm not going to waste your time, so please stay with me. You don't need to go away. I'm not going to give you a whole long narrative. I'm just going to dive right into the facts tonight. In 1953, the United States, through the Central Intelligence Agency, helped overthrow Iran's elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh. This is not debated. It is a documented historical fact. Mossadegh's sin was not aggression. It was simply nationalizing Iran's oil, removing British Petroleum BP's control over Iran's own oil. The result, Iran's democratic process was dismantled. The Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was elevated as a monarch in Iran with US backing. Iran became a strategic client state aligned with American interests. That decision didn't just change a government, it reshaped the political psychology of an entire nation. In 1979, that system collapsed. The Iranian Revolution replaced the Shah with a government led by Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, an Islamic cleric, explicitly opposed to US influence. From that moment forward, hostility wasn't incidental, it wasn't accidental, it was structural. The United States had lost control over a key regional ally. Iranians have had a living memory of foreign interference and control of their government. Everything since then has unfolded in that shadow. For decades, the United States has applied pressure through several means: economic sanctions, military positioning, strategic alliance. Iran responded differently, not by matching conventional power, not by matching military power, but by building asymmetric leverage across the region. Now understand this: neither side operates in isolation. Each move is a reaction to the other and to history itself. The United States pursues global influence, and it protects strategic interests of itself. The United States protects its own interests. That's inarguable. Its actions in Iran, starting in 1953, were driven by control over resources and geopolitical positioning. It is also true that Israel views Iran as a major strategic threat to its hegemonic ambitions in Western Asia. The US-Israel relationship heavily influences regional dynamics. Israel's goal is to pursue a coordinated state-level plan to extend from the rivers Nile to the Euphrates. The idea of a greater Israel existed in their religious texts and among some fringe and ideological groups in the past. Today, Israelis of all stripes speak of this strategy openly. It's no longer a secret. So when we talk about the Iran-America-Iran war, or the Israeli war, we have to be really clear and put into context what really causes us to be where we are. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have spoken openly about defeating Iran and finally moving on to Turkey as part of Israel's strategic hegemonic ambitions. Those grandiose desires are couched in the language of a defensive posture. The facts are not on Netanyahu's side, however, as it is a well-known fact that it is Israel that has been at war with all of its neighbors since its creation in 1948. The United States intervened decisively in Tehran's internal affairs in 1953. That intervention created long-term instability in Iran and distrust between the two nations. Decades of pressure by the United States through sanctions and confrontation have reinforced that conflict. Iran didn't start out hating the United States. And so the purpose of my talking to you today about this is because there is this pervasive notion that makes it seem as if this conflict started in 1979. It did not. This started in 1953. So this is not propaganda. It is a historical record. I don't speak for Iran. I don't live in Iran. It is also true that Iran has pursued its own regional strategy. Israel, on the other hand, has operated on its own security fears, calculations, and a larger geographical and geopolitical interests. This is not a single cause conflict. It is an accumulation of decisions by multiple powers over time, all with different interests and agendas. What is not true, for one to argue, is that Iran is a rogue state that sponsors terror. If facts and truth matters, if they do matter anymore, then stating exactly why Iran is inarguably right in creating its own defensive posture, not a posture that can match America's military might and power, but one anchored in asymmetry. It is absolutely critical to the debate. Iran has been forced to deal with Western aggression largely through Western proxy, Israel, by supporting their own proxies and cutouts, namely Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, and the Houthis in Yemen, as a strategic counterbalance to those aggressions. Iran is also forced to exploit its strategic location as a means to choke off a huge chunk of the world's energy, fertilizer, and other supplies as leverage in the war of aggression being waged against it by the United States and Israel. Iran is fighting for its very survival. It is also important to never forget that the so-called axis of resistance, which is named an axis of evil and terror in the West, it is supported by that Iran has supported. Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis are all resistance groups born out of Israel aggression and occupation. Those are simply true. So when we hear that, Iran is this great terror exporter of terror, and the propaganda is that Iran is a state that is the world's largest state sponsor of terror, one has to understand contextually what this means. That is Western propaganda. People who are fighting for their survival are not terrorists. Yes, they may use terroristic means as a military strategy to accomplish their goals. But let's just face the facts. Were Israel to pull out of the West Bank and allow the Palestinian people to govern themselves, remove themselves from Gaza, scale back its regional ambitions, ask yourself whether these groups would have any more legitimacy. Ask yourselves whether there would be this continuous state of war and aggression. I think fair-minded people already know the answer to that question. It would all come to a halt. Because as for the Palestinian people, all they want is to be able to live on their land and to govern themselves. Nobody well, let me not say nobody, because there are a lot of people who are actually speaking truth, speaking out against Israel aggression. And right in the United States here, there are so many people who are now, who once favored Israel for whatever reason, are now wide-eyed, clear-eyed about what's really going on when they look at what is happening in Gaza, what's happening in the West Bank, what Israel has continued to do in Lebanon. It is almost unimaginable that a country, that a people who came out of oppression, a people who argue that they had gone through so much just in recent years, could have become like the people they demagogue and talk about literally every day about how these people did them wrong. They have become those people, and worse. We're talking about little children in classrooms, old men and women, non combatants, just ordinary people who want to live their lives in peace and to be governed by themselves. Folks, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to our channel and leave us a comment in the comment section below. Give us a like. It helps the algorithms. We really, really appreciate it. It helps the algorithms, and share the content. We will be back in 3 days' time. We don't usually put up a lot of videos. We are very careful about what the research we do and the videos that we do that would best inform, not to incite, not to inflame, but to inform. Give us a like, share the video, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.